Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to everyone.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everyone.
I would like to welcome all of you today to our webinar. And we are going with the title, Driving Competence at Workplaces, Why Organizations Need to Invest in People Development. Solutions Tag is a consulting company that is the host of this webinar today. A brief short about who Solution Tag is. Solution Tag is a Tanzanian consulting company limited, an ISO 9001-2015 certified firm specializing in energy sector. Our mission is providing reliable and innovative towards sustainable and global environmental responsible energy sector. Our solutions ranges from training solution, HSC solutions, asset integrity management services, well services, and oil and gas data management. As we all know that in a world that's constantly evolving, one thing remains true. An organization's greatest asset is its people. Today, we'll explore how building the right competences fuels performance, innovation, and long-term success. Thank you all for joining us. So get ready for insightful discussions, real-world examples, and practical takeaways you can apply right away. Solutions Tag, we say empowering your workforce with tailored training solutions. We unlock the full potential of your team with customized training programs designed to enhance skills and drive workplaces success. So I would like to say welcome again. So let's dive in. Before we call each discussant, I would like to introduce one of the discussants, who is Fortune Ecclesia. Fortune is a managing director at Fortune Management Consulting Limited. He's a Tanzanian educator and strategist focused on leadership, business, and human potential. He has over 10 years of experience. He has trained thousands and advised executives, non-profits in finance, especially Bank of Tanzania. He runs Fortune Management Consulting Support, which it has 150 institutions in strategy, operation, and digital solutions. He has got awarded a Queen Young Leaders Runner-Up and Royal Commonwealth Society Fellow. He holds board roles in mining firm and the Taswe Foundation. He volunteers with the Seventh-day Adventist Church, leading evangelism and a community nonprofit, the Global Shepherds Community. That is Fortune. I would like also to introduce Peter Sereka Kichogo. Peter is a founding and managing director of Solutions Tag, a Tanzanian energy service company, with among others, that is driving competence at workplaces through training solution. He is a petroleum engineer and business strategist, driving innovation in Tanzania's energy sector. With experience in leading effective teams that design and deliver effective training solutions, he emphasizes aligning workforce development with organizational goals. His leadership at Solutions Tag integrates data-driven training frameworks to enhance safety, efficiency, and project outcome. As a business manager, Peter leverages hands-on experience from major projects in designing training programs that bridge skill gaps and deliver measurable results in also driving the vision. That is better. Another discussant is Honorable Beaton Henry Mwakisu. He is a senior resident magistrate judiciary of Tanzania. Honorable serves as a senior magistrate in the judiciary of Tanzania with a vast experience in magistrate for 13 years. in the metropolitan cities of Mwanza, Arusha, and Dar es Salaam. Having a foundation in teaching, Honorable has been continuously featuring in various experiences, sharing seminars coordinated by Judiciary and the Institute of Judicial Administration. He's an ardent advocate of experience, sharing module of training as a tool for enhancing proficiency and efficiency. We have Carlos Pelembe. Carlos, he is based in Mozambique. He is a seasoned professional with over 20 years of experience in human resources and learning and development. He is currently working at Puma Energy as a L&D and also serves as a university lecturer. Deeply passionate about continuous learning, Carlos is committed to building knowledge through both acquiring new insights and sharing his expertise with others. He's particularly focused on identifying skill gaps, fostering talent development, and investing in staff to enhance service quality and drive productivity within organizations. He's presently finalizing his PhD in communication science, further underscoring his dedication to academic and professional growth. So that is our welcome remark, a short brief and introduction of the host, which is Solutions Tag. Welcome again, and my name is Elizabeth Ebenezer Saul, and I'm the training coordinator at Solutions Tag. We will have our first discussant, who is Fortune. Fortune.
Good afternoon, Elizabeth.
Good afternoon. We would like to welcome you, and you will take us through your agenda, that is understanding workplaces competence and why training matters. Welcome, Fortune.
Thank you. Let me try and see if I can share my screen. Just checking to confirm if my screen is visible on that end. Great.
Sure.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're engaging in your production and trying to be of value wherever you are. As introduced, my name is Fortune, and for the past decade, my focus has been around developing people. I consider myself an advocate for investment in people, and I'll probably try in the next 10 or so minutes to make a case for that. I'll try to, I know my colleagues who will come after me will perhaps get into more of the nitty-gritties of how training can be done better, there's several aspects of it that can be looked at. But I just want us to reflect on, like, why do we need to do it in the first place? And I want to see. Just need to confirm that my screen is going there as expected. Okay, great. All right. So there's a meme that SAS may have seen circulating at one point or another, and I thought this would be a good place to start, because beyond just being a meme, I think it carries quite a lot in terms of what we think about training, what we think about developing people in general, and of course, there's more than training in developing people. Even though training itself can be done better to include quite a few more things that make it more more result oriented. But here we have a finance lead of an organization posing a question to the strategy bearer, the CEO, who says, what if we invest in people, in our people, and they leave? And the response from the CEO is, what if we don't? What if we don't invest in them and they end up staying? Now, it is, of course, a dichotomy that we have to deal with. But I think in these two phrases, there's quite a bit that we can unpack that may help us understand why we're talking about training and trying to make a case for training in the first place, and really what the advantage of training is. And I'd like to point out an obvious matter here, which is most of us have gotten here by learning something. And so come to think of it, nobody really has a thing against learning. Nobody has a thing against people continuing to develop. So why should we try to make a case for training if people already know that that's what got them here? And if you look at what this CFO is trying to say, he's not necessarily challenging the idea of people learning and people growing and training people, but there's elements that I think usually make people take a step back or perhaps not invest in training that are not necessarily related to the idea of learning itself. And one of the most obvious one that jumps out of this meme here is, well, if I'm looking at this as an investment, I don't want to pour down money and then that money doesn't return value in my business. And so that obviously, if somebody feels that that's what training does, they will obviously pull back from it and not invest in it. The other aspect would be, is there a desire for people to actually link whatever is there an output that comes out of this training that can then directly be linked or can directly lead into a change of behavior that we see in business. And so one is a cost issue, the other is an impact issue. And in both of these reasons would hold people up. And in my experience, I've gone to businesses. I think one of the hardest business models to justify training in is where people trade. I've had potential clients that you reach out to in the trading business model where all they do is take this product, put a markup on it, pass it on to somebody else. And these are the hardest to convince that training really matters, because for them, it seems like the business model is quite clear. And so for these people, much as they will still agree that learning is important, there has to be a justification for why, even in their context, training has to be done. Now, at the end of it all, what you want to do is you want this training to feed back into the business. What you want to do is you want training to help people deliver better in business. There will be other advantages, and I'll sort of highlight that a little bit later. But I think the one word that can sum up why we actually want training in the first place is we're looking for competence. We're looking for competence in people that can then allow them to deliver in the businesses or in the organizations. And when I say business, it's not necessarily for profit, but whatever operations you have in your organization. And so we ought to understand if people are struggling to train people, if people are being held back from training people because not get from training companies. If we understand it, it might be a better idea of how we can do training to then feed back into these obstacles that we're seeing, to help people see that there's value monetarily, to help people also see there's value in terms of impact in operations and in the businesses. And so just not to be academic here, but it's good to be clear about what we mean when we're talking about competence. And so competence is basically one person can demonstrate an ability to do something based on what is needed. So organizations might need a lot of things. Organizations might need somebody who is able to sell. Organizations might need somebody who is able to attend to needs of customers or different stakeholders and make them feel engaged and create a strategy or guide people into implementing. These are all needs that could be there in an organization. And competence is really the ability to deliver on that. What that is then made up of is competency, which is basically the knowledge, the skills, and the abilities. And this is how we've often thought about it in the HR field. But I also like to think there's another layer of behavior and judgment, which is, so to picture it, somebody would have to know, let's say the need is somebody who can sell. Somebody would need to know what selling is, what the products they're trying to sell are, what some of these terminologies that are involved in this process are, and that's your knowledge. They would need to be able to communicate and in an order that gets somebody to desire to purchase. They would also need to be able to have attention to detail. They would need to be able to practice things like active listening, so that they're able to actually, hear what somebody is saying, what their objections are, what their pain points are, and convince them. And so this is how knowledge, skills, and abilities come together. But I think that's not enough, because at the end of the day, if you want to deliver, you also need to be able to put these into practice, and that's where behavior comes in. It's not just potential, which is what you have in your abilities, in your skills, and in your knowledge, but that you're able to also put it into practice, and that you're able to apply judgment, especially because contexts change all the time. Contexts change, needs change, and your ability to adapt with that, I think, is also a critical part of what competence is. So we want to make a case for training. I'm just trying to bring this whole picture together. We want to make a case for training to people who really understand learning has to happen, because we experience that in life every single day. That's out of the question, but need to justify the cost of that and the impact of that. And for these people, what they would hope is that somebody is able, what they want in their business is somebody who is able to deliver, to demonstrate a result in whatever need that there is. And how you close that gap is training, is building the capacity of people. People have to know what the facts and the information that is required in that area of delivery. People need to have the know-how of how to then execute. They need to have certain traits that allow them to implement that, but they also need to be able to put it to practice and be able to adapt and make judgments based on the circumstances. That is what we're trying to achieve here. We're trying to achieve competence, which will then make a case for both the cost and the impact that training has. And I know my colleagues, as we go on, will come and talk about how you align your training and your results. I'm not going to go into that, but I want to just now go back into the other side of the meme I shared earlier, because so far I have highlighted the perspective that comes from, if I can take you back, from the CFO, what the challenges looking at so eventually these people, what's going to happen? what's going to happen to the organization, what's going to happen to these people. But on the flip side also, if I train them, what is going to happen? Because in the question of what if we don't train them and they stay, is a question of what's going to happen to those people, but what is going to happen to the company as well. There's two parts or two entities here that are affected by people who are not trained, but who end up staying in our organization. But on the flip side also, if people are trained, again, it's the two parties that are being affected. And there are three main things that I think make a case for training these people, the people that we have in organization. The first is that competence that we were defining earlier is really the gap between strategy, which the organization would already have, and the results that it's looking for. Most people can plan. Most people can have ideas, and most people desire results. The ability to get those results, the ability to transform our ideas to results, that's a whole other thing. And so what is required to bridge that gap is the competence that comes from training. When you train people, and we have this in data, Gallup does a study every year called State of the Global Workplace Survey. And part of the data points we have from that is that organizations that invest in people tend to see higher profitability and higher productivity, in the percentages of 11 and 17% respectively. And so at the end of the day, you can have a really nice strategy, but if your people don't have the competence that is required to deliver, then you won't get the results. And that's what happens when you don't train people and they stay. This is what the CEO is trying to communicate. And so this makes a case partly for why we need to invest in people, why we need to train people. The other part is about the people themselves. People or employees who are trained tend to feel valued. Think about it. Any time that an employer goes out of their way to invest in you, and there is the potential that you will obviously leave the organization at one point. This knowledge is not taken away from you. And so people have always come to value training because they know that this is something they will live with. And so organizations that tend to invest in this make people appreciate, because they tend to feel a sense of growth, that I'm not just here laboring for you, I'm also growing myself. And at the end of the day, engagement in any organization is a balance of interests. The organization is getting what they want, the individual is also getting what they want, irrespective of the organization. And training can deliver that. And there's quite a number of studies that have shown this. In fact, from Gallup study, it showed that people who were being trained were almost twice as likely willing to stay in the organization. LinkedIn also has their own study that shows 95% of employees would be more willing to stay in an organization if they had more training opportunities in that organization. And so for any, and I have to point this out here as well, that the cost of not training people beyond their lack of engagement, beyond what we spoke earlier, their inability to deliver, is if they end up leaving, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to, of course, recruit and replace, and that is a cost in itself again.
Fortune,
So
you can
gain, you lose in both cases. And maybe my final point would be the future. One of the things I mentioned earlier is that transformation and changes continually happen. If your people are not trained, then they won't be able to adapt to the future. I believe this was 2023, World Economic Forum put out a report in their the Future of Work report, where 44% of skills that people currently have will be number is if you think that your people are able to deliver, and so you sort of take training and give it a backseat, you will be surprised that at one point, whatever they know right now that gives you the comfort will no longer be the case, and you will be taken out by another organization that continually develops its people. So the question I'm going to leave you with, and that I want to pave way for the other discussants is, are you training the right way? Because if we've agreed that training is valuable, and we've agreed that everybody knows learning is needed because everybody got here through learning something, then the issue with why people train, or rather why people don't train, or why people are hesitant to train, or why people take training less seriously, comes back to how training is done and whether it can come back and be tied to return on investment, but also impact in terms of productivity and competence in the organization. So that's the question that I'm leaving you with, and I know my colleagues will sort of try and answer that, and we can have a discussion about that at the end. I'll stop there. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, Fortune. That was very insightful. And as you said, you have given us a take-home question: are you training the right way? That one we will all discuss. So now I would like to welcome Geoffrey Metili, who will be the panelist. Geoffrey is a business management and stakeholder engagement specialist. Welcome, Geoffrey. Can you wrap it up from the discussion and agenda point that has been presented? Geoffrey?
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. I hope I'm audible enough. Hello?
You
Just
have
one
five.
response.
You
So,
only
hello.
have 5
Yeah,
minutes,
we can hear
please.
you. Okay, no worries. Thank you so much, Fortune. That was, first of all, Elizabeth, thank you for having me on this platform. Fortune, your presentation was amazing. I want to also embark from the point you had highlighted. There are different trainings for different situations and different setups based on the needs. I would say competency training comes in 2, 3 forms. In my opinion, competency can be in the context of the content that you hold that your employees hold that they do develop, or it could be on the upskilling side where you need them to learn also better soft skills, or not necessarily diving deep into the content of that particular person's career direction. So on that note, I want to give you an example, Fortune. We met at some point in 2019 or 2019, 2020. I think you were with Epfate Fortune back then, and you were doing an assessment at Nabaki, Africa. I don't know if you recall that, Fortune.
Oh yeah, I
Hello?
recall that.
You do? Okay, wonderful. So, Fortune, Nabaki, yes, works with margins, and they oftentimes do not see the importance of certain types of training. But that is one organization I would give an example of that did a lot of product training. And product training made each and every employee way better at selling the product, and also having the confidence to actually face clients who have as many questions as they can come about. So, as a matter of fact, trainings were the model that Nabaki Africa used to even increase their sales. It was the model we used in Arusha to move from a couple millions to 3 times that amount in 3 years. Why? Because of training, training, training. That made us gain more ground. It made us also, from a sales perspective, give us a very good footing in any area they extended. I've left Nabaki, but I believe that's the, that is the that is the context.
You have 1 minute.
Am I audible? Sorry.
Your
Thank you very
time is
much.
almost up.
So
Take it up.
yes, that is how I'll wrap it up. Thank you very much, Fortune, for sharing your piece on this. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you so very much, Geoffrey, for the well-experienced case shared. Now, I would like to welcome Please welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you
Okay,
very
thank
much.
you very much.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth. Good afternoon, all. I hope you can hear me clearly. Great. Well, my name is Carlos Palembe from Mozambique, and I'm currently working for Puma Energy.
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, great. It's an honor and privilege to be here with this wonderful panel where all of us, we have something in common, which is human capital development. To those who are following us or joined to this webinar, special people from Mozambique, my country, thank you for joining, and all of you, thanks for this. It was really a good start from Fortune. I really loved what you mentioned, but now I will be focusing on success story from my company. I will be sharing, and I'm sure maybe you can see my screen. Can you see?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Great stuff. Well, my focus will be learn from a real life success stories. I will not bring this again, what is competence, because Fortune brought this and it's clear. So we know that it's a combi or a combination of experience, knowledge, skills that one must have in order to achieve the goals. This is what we need, especially in the organizations. And most of the organization, they need to focus on their management in order to have competent workers or employees so that we can ensure productivity and quality of service to be provided both by those employees. Talking about investing in people, it's very important to know that most of the companies or organizations are doing this because it's imperative for business. It's unfortunate to say that, but especially in my country, we don't have a lot of learning and development, which is really a pity because it's where we are going to have people, competent people who are going to bring the results and to perform in a clear way. And these, we have so many benefits from the learning and development because we are going to increase the job satisfaction, the morale of these people. I mean, I'm talking about the employees. And it's unfortunate again in Mozambique because we have so many, the rate on turnover is too high because most of the management team, they think this, according to the CFO, the first question we had from Fortune, why we do need to invest in learning and development for the people who are going to leave us. And the answer was really nice. And as you can see, investing in this, like Puma Energy has done and is doing so far, we're investing in training programs because we know that our success comes or depends on the loyalty of these employees, the commitment and the professional development of each one, because it's really interest for the people and for the company. For the people, for their growth, but for the company, we are looking at the profit that, of course, it will come from this. Because when we have people who are well-trained, competent people who are going to perform the activities to achieve our common goal, then we will have our profit and we will grow the company. But as well, we have people who are going to do certain trainings, and of course, they are also gaining some knowledge, some competency, and those people, of course, they will stay in the company. Even if they leave, there's no problem. We will continue developing people within the company, and the company will become a school, a business school, so that we can have people motivated to do the job. Well, coming straight to my point here, where is Puma Energy success story, building a business through people development. Most of you know, it's a company which is include the storage even products, where we're focusing on midstream and downstream, and this is our business here in Mozambique. We are basically doing the downstream, where we are doing the distribution of oil products. So one of the values for Puma is caring people for people. We care for people, because people they are motivated if you care for them. Otherwise, the business will not even grow. And bringing the success story, myself as L&D, working as HR in conjunction with HR, we have a program called GM Executive Development Program. This is a top-level management staff that will liaise with some business schools in South Africa, where we are focusing on tackle real-world challenges, sharpening these skills, leadership skills, and to drive the innovative thinking. What is the idea? We need people who are competent for decision making, who will lead for improvement in various performance measures. This specifically for the top management team. So when we send them to this kind of university, it's for them to be motivated, but also for the company to know that we have people, we have talent here that can at least strive for the objective of the company. We also liaised with another university in South Africa for retail management, manager excellence program. The same program aims to bring new competence on sales as well as leadership and customer focus specifically for the retail management. So we are also focusing on this. I really love this because I'm the one running this program for the local young graduate in Mozambique, where we connect with most of the university here in Mozambique, and we just looking at those who have no experience. What is the idea? The idea is that we need people to grow with us. We need to equip with certain competence, certain skills, and we grow with these people, designing, mentoring, training, and career development. And we will give them ultimately the opportunity to work with us. This is a success story because after 1 year program, and we will recruit, we will hire the new candidate, the new graduate. And remember, those people, most of the people here that maybe are doing university, at the end, they expect to join a company. And if they have that opportunity to join a company, of course, they will be more motivated to do, because if you find people with zero experience, they are really amazing, because it's where you are going to give them, you will equip them with knowledge, with skills, so that you will have the end product according to what you exactly designed for them. So Puma galvanizes young people to start, but also creates this connection between the company and the university. Tomorrow, this Friday, I will be joining another university to do the same fair, so that we can interview young graduates. This is a success story for Puma, because graduates, they need opportunity, and most of them, they are not even having any. So Puma likes to do this kind of program for the young graduate. In other hand, we introduced this, we call it PCF, which is Puma Certification Framework. Well, this is really an exciting and dynamic learning initiative, which will support all staff from our company. We're talking about Mozambique, but this is in the company-wide, not only in Mozambique. The focus will be always the employee growth. This is the first thing that Puma aims to drive this improvement, and also we need the kind of service to improve the So the idea is a cohesive aligned work competence of excellence. So we have many success stories in Puma, but the main thing we need is to build competency within the organization, because we are sure that if we do so, we will be at least doing what we have as a purpose for Puma, which is energizing community. Energizing community by giving them the tools, giving them the equipment. We're talking about knowledge itself. If we have knowledge, then we'll have a brighter future for the organization. Otherwise, we will not even achieve our main target. So, but also we have our labor law, which stipulates that it's compulsory for each and every organization to train people. This is also stated on our labor law. But we're not focusing about labor law because this becomes imperative. It's compulsory for that company to do this. We are not focusing on that. We are focusing on doing what we love more, which is developing people and focusing on young graduates with zero experience. So those are the success stories for Puma when we talk about workforce competence at the workplace. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Carlos. As we had how Puma is, we have get some insights. And the good thing that is really, really impressive is the program that they have, that you have shared with us, certification programs, and also how it is important to train the workforce as well. You say that it is good to also for the companies, for the organization to grow with its people. So now I would hold all the questions we will all ask at the end. I would like to welcome the third discussant, who is Honorable Biton Mokisu. He will take us through a creative competence-driven culture, the role of leadership and management in reinforcing training. Welcome, Honorable.
I thank you, Elizabeth, for sorry. Yes. Excuse me. 1 minute. Is my paper displayed or not?
Not yet.
Okay. Is it visible? Sorry.
Yes, we can see it now.
It is visible. Yeah, I appreciate Elizabeth for having me in this thoughtful experience sharing training. When I was invited to share with you my experience on training, something came as a challenge in my mind, that how should I start? So I thought I should start with this breakthrough, as you can see in the display in your screen. The breakthrough is like this. As an institution, for instance, Puma or any other organization, or Solution Tag, etc., they must have investment on three things. I think there are many. You can have technology and etc. But to me, the major ones are three: the financial capital, material capital, and human capital. These are the three pillars of investment in an organization for to reach interruption. Is my paper still being seen, Elizabeth?
Yes, yes, I can see.
Yeah, I'm sorry for the interruptions. Yeah, so among all those capitals, whether financial, material, or human capital, the most affected one is the human capital. And why? The reason is very simple, as we may all know, that human capital is mostly affected due to technological advancements and even political and policy conversions or dynamisms. We all remember during the time when our parents were civil servants or even private or even in the private sector, where there was an invention of computers in their working places. Most of them were expelled from their jobs simply because they were computer illiterate. And even the political and policy issues can be factors for the change of human capital. Now, what is needed? The only thing which is needed here is to make sure that the human capital is continuously groomed so as to ensure competence and proficiency and even efficiency in workplaces. So it is my breakthrough that every organization, for it to realize its goals, it must have a continuous program of training to its employees. Now, why training is important at workplaces? Fortune has put it very well, and through the imagery which portrayed the fear between the employer and the employees, that maybe if we train them, they might leave our organization and possibly search for green pastures elsewhere. That is an employer perception. But for you as an employee, you must have your own perception that any training, you are not going to training simply to benefit the employer. You are going to training even for your own good and benefit, to enhance your skills and expertise, your professional confidence, professional growth, and also to reduce the culture of doing things as business as usual. That means you invent new ways of doing things more efficiently and effectively. But also it equips employees with trending and prevailing dynamisms. Things do change. The engineer of 1990s would not be the same as the engineer of the 20s. So the same as to the organization, as you might see there, I am not going to concentrate much on that area because it was well addressed by Fortune, the first presenter. Now, also, Fortune posed the question to us that, are you training the right way? Now, whether we train the right way or not, it depends on the mode of training. Which mode of training do we employ, and in what circumstances do we employ that kind of a mode? Down there are several kinds of modes of training that one would opt in his or her organization, basing on the circumstances of the organization. One will opt for instructor-led training, that one person is in front of the class like pupils, we are being convened there, and one person is narrating the story like a pastor or a sheikh in a mosque. There is e-learning as what we are doing right now. We have on-job training, which is mostly embraced by several organizations. And we have simulation. Now, I would like to speak a bit about simulation. This is the most active way of training, especially to the young ones, when you want to employ the actual ways of doing job or doing things at a certain organization. And it helps the organization to see how people do their things. Through simulation or acting different scenarios, it will help the organization to if tag branch A way of doing things to all other branches so that we can move in a uniformity. There is mentoring, blending. Now you can even blend other modes into one, depending on the circumstances needed. I should concentrate on the area where I was asked to labor match. That is the role of the management in reinforcing training. This is also will automatically be replying to the question posed by the first presenter if we are rightly training our employers. Generally, training is a sole responsibility of the organization. The management must ensure that it reinforces appropriate and adequate training to its employees in a sense that ultimately the organizational goals are realized. So the baseline here is that the organization shall not run away from this role. Reflecting from the image portrayed by Fortune there is a threat in the heads of the leaders that if we train them, they might leave our organization in search of green pastures. But that cannot be an excuse for them to refrain from performing their obligation of making sure that the employees are well trained in order to improve competency, proficiency, and efficiency. Now, what are the roles now of the management in making sure that they reinforce training? First is design appropriate and adequate training. I'm returning to the first question posed by Fortune. Are we training the right way? So if you design appropriate and adequate trainings, you would automatically be training in the right way. You should not every training will be beneficial in realizing the organizational mission and vision. It is then the primary role of the management to identify training needs and assign appropriate and adequate training onto them. We have an organization, but what do we need right now? Maybe we get a lot of complaints from our customers that they are poorly treated. Then automatically you would find that the training needed there is customer care. So by identifying the needs, you would automatically assign adequate funds onto it, and etc., etc., etc. I've given an experience of the judiciary of Tanzania that currently a lot of trainings are mainly onto the electronic case management system, which is a new ways of conducting cases in our courts, as opposed to the conventional manner or conventional methods of writing court records on a piece of paper or case files. So trainings are mainly measured on that area. You might have a lot of areas of concern, but at least you must have the major one onto which you think if you concentrate on it, you will be touching the cornerstone of the goals to be attained by the organization. After designing, then you should prioritize adequate budgetary appropriation. You have designed appropriate and adequate training. You have identified the training needs, and you have identified the group to be trained. But without allocating enough budget to trainings, automatically will not meet the targeted intention. So it is expected that the management would allocate enough funds in facilitating trainings to its employees. I've given that it's a success example of the judiciary of Tanzania, that most of the trainings now, apart from other kind of trainings, but most of trainings are sensitized on the modern way of handling cases through the modern technology like the computer means of recording evidence, etc., etc. But again, you should invest on trainers. You might have budget, you might have a group of trainees ready for training and willing, of course, to be trained. But if you don't have trainers, what would you do? Among who so experienced and it's not necessary for you as the director to be the trainer. No, being director is not, that does not necessarily mean that you know each and everything. But you can choose a young or a junior staff, but well equipped, and he has skills enough for presentations. He has language proficiency, and he can amass people or influence people when he presents his ideas. You can use him to present your ideas. You know why? If you go as a director, your employees will treat those trainings as directives. They will not take them as the manner how they should conduct themselves in their daily ways of doing things. They will treat them, these are directives from the director, instead of these are the ways we should conduct ourselves in doing our things. Now, the other role that you should, the management should do is invest more training on young labor. Yeah, this is debatable, I know. All of us are expected to be aged soon. But for the development of any organization, you must invest much on the young labor. Simply because the aged one is not, we do not say that they are not needed in our institution. They are needed to teach us the culture of the organization and to make sure that the culture of that organization does not fade away, does not fall. It transformed from one generation to another generation. But for a sustainability of that organization to sustain some further years ahead, you need much to invest into young labor. So even in picking and selecting trained staffs, automatically you are advised, in fact, to go and choose the young ones who will be well, in fact, for the long-term goals of the organization. And there is a fair distribution of training. Now, in most of government trainings, this is speaking from my experience, most government trainings, there is nepotism. People are chosen according to how close they are to the leaders. People are chosen according, there are even love allegations, love affairs that the director or maybe the certain leader has chosen this and this because he has an affair with her. So for the sake of the organization, it is expected that any selection would not base on those extraneous issues, but would base on merit, as opposed to regional, racial, tribal, or religious sentiments. You choose people on merit, that telling these are these ones, we need this kind of a group of people, then selection should also be fair. If the organization has regions, for instance, northern region, southern region, eastern and central region, make sure at least you have representatives to those kind of areas, because at the end of the time, we expect those trained ones, when returning back to the working stations, they would become ambassadors, and they will disseminate the trained materials to their fellow workers in their working stations. And the other role is to design appropriate mode of training. The management is duty bound to design appropriate mode of training. If you have young trainees, definitely we expect you to have simulation mode of training, that most of the materials are distributed through scenarios and issues, even playing roles. For instance, we in the judiciary, when we meet in our trainings, we always imitate court proceedings. So you might find there, it is a training of judges and magistrates, but we sit as a court now. You'll find there is a judge, there is an accused person, there is a public prosecutor, there is a defense counsel, there is, and even spectators. So we conduct the court, and conducting that court automatically, and even the success, there's not addressed there that no, this should not be done in actual courts, or this should be embraced in actual court. So by designing appropriate mode of training depends on your audience. If you have aged and experienced people, do not expect to conduct a moot court. Yeah, you definitely have a training of this kind. Materials are being gathered here. People will read through materials and they will respond to those materials. And the last one is about monitoring and evaluation. You might have good training, you might have good trainers, you have allocated enough budget onto it, you have fair distributed the training by picking people from various angles. But if you do not seek feedback from the trainees, that training is nonsense. Yeah, so it is expected at the end of the training, whether at the end of a training session or at a specified calendar period, whether quarterly or annually, it depends on the policy, a comparative analysis is being done between the training needs that were identified when we are planning for a train vis-a-vis the expectations of the trainees, vis-a-vis the results gathered from the experience, from the training. Now, this can be done in many ways. I've given the experience of the Institute of Judicial Administration that usually there are special forms which the trainers and training is assessed by assessing the trainers, thematic content of the training, the presentation, the conceptual relevancy, and training needs realized. This, of course, would help you as an organization to know your shortfalls and successes, and in fact, to keep up with the good ones and to demolish the bad ones. So conclusively, I would come back to the question posed by Fortune, especially to that image, the cartoon which he posed, where there is a threat concerned by the management that if they train their people, they could leave them. To my fellow employees, I am such impressed by B.B. King, who said that the beautiful thing about learning is nobody can take it away from you. So first of all, as an employee, you should not treat training as a benefit to the employer. It has your own benefits too. But again, Da Vinci once said, training never exhausts the mind. Yeah, don't be fed up with training every day, learn new things. But to the employers, avoid that threat, because an investment in knowledge pays the best interest. In the future, when they come back, the employees, they would benefit your own organization. And Roy H. Williams says, training is not an expense, but an investment in human capital. Yeah, I thank you very much for the invitation, and that marks the end of my verbose presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Honorable. That was so very insightful. We managed to get a few from you, which are very, very useful, that we should groom training. In line of that, with the quote of Leonardo da Vinci, you say training never exhausts the mind. That is very, 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 very nice. And also you emphasize on active model on way of training, of which you spearhead on simulations to be used, especially when you're training the youth, based on the scenarios and issues, is the good example that you have shared with us on how quota training. Also, you have highlighted for us that the most important thing is also to identify the needs, and also for having a sustainability in organization, and for long term, as it says, that you have to give opportunity to youth. Now back to everyone on organizations, institutions, let's brainstorm this, and at the end, we'll now I'd like us through measuring training effectiveness, and he will discuss on aligning outcomes with organizational goals. And after that, the panelist will be Naomi Nanamat, who is the Managing Director of CGK Africa Connect. Welcome, Peter.
Okay, thank you so much, Elizabeth, for awesome, coordinating and moderating as well the amazing session. So I just want to be sure that you can hear my voice and you can see the screen as well.
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. So thank you to Fortune, thank you, Carlos, and just the previous presenter, Mwakiso, for sharing very useful insights as far as driving competency at workplace is concerned. I just want to recap from where previous presenters ended, and then I'll jump to this few slides session. So Carlos mentioned, and of course took us through the extent of investment that Puma has been doing. And I just want to believe that with all the programs and the commitment that Puma is having, that's equally a significant investment in terms of financial investment. And good enough, Mwakiso cemented on the position of human capital investment, and I believe we'll all come to the point of agreement that as much as we can invest on materials, the financial, we also need to equally invest on personnel. So that being the case, and if we all come to the point of agreeing that training at our organizations, it's a significant investment, then any investor would like his investment to be quite effective. So in this few minutes presentation, I'll share some insights on how we can make it effective. Yeah, and thank you to Carlos and Marquis, because they have shared. I mean, we have get the insights from the private sector, Puma, and the insights from the government sector. So I believe it's a way of exchanging perspectives, and sometimes we can grab some things to utilize at workplaces. So my colleague will be assisting me to present my slides. So please help me to control. Yes. So a matter of fact is, training is an investment. If Carlos were to share, the budgetary investment that is being committed by Puma on yearly basis, or if Mwakiso had to, share some numbers to show the extent of investment that is being incurred on a yearly basis, I believe we'll appreciate the extent of an investment that is being made. So, according to the CIG report, I'll give some few numbers that I've come to find from the sources. TANESCO spent around 8 billion in the financial year 2022-2023, and at least 11 billion for the financial year of 2021-2022. So it can be, a reasonable number for given the size of the TANESCO, but take it as a standalone figure, 8 billion, 11 billion. It's a very significant investment. they are looking to invest around 6,000, staffs as far as training is concerned. Of course, this is a ministerial plan, and therefore it comes with along with its institutions. And then next, please. Okay, sorry. Yeah. So KPC, this is Kenya Pipeline Corporation. According to its financial report, they invested, or they rather committed, around 4 billion Tanzanian shillings, which is around 177 million Kenyan shillings in their 2024 financial year for staff training. And checking from the sources, it is being reported that collectively, businesses within US, they spent around 80 million, 8 billion, USD yearly for employees training. So what we come to agree at some point is training is an investment. And we all know our numbers. Puma knows his numbers, Makisu as well, and all the other organizations. We know how much we are putting, or we are rather spending on training. So if that's the case, because it's an investment, then it has to be effective, obviously. And the question is now, which is of course in line with what Fortune posed. The question is now, how do we measure, or how do we ensure the effectiveness in this training investment? So I will take you through using what I saw called the cyclic model. And in this cyclic model, for the training to be effective and to get a meaningful return on investment, we have to consider at least 3 phases: before, during, and after training. So normally, as Makisu and Fortune mentioned, because it's an investment, it has to be targeted. So this is to say, we normally have to undertake an assessment and establish the pain point, because the question would be, why are we training? Why are you sending 10 staffs to the training? Why are you putting $1 million for the training for this financial year, for example? So the justification behind this extent of investment, regardless of the amount, should come from the point of, what are we trying to solve, or rather, what are we trying to improve? And that's possible with the assessment. So before undertaking any sort of training, we just have to make sure that we know exactly what we want to address. Is it we want to boost sales? Is it we want to enhance communication skills at workplace? Anything that we want to solve must be clear. And then after having after being clear with the pain point, then we have to make sure that we have a plan. A plan like what specific sort of training are we going to subject these people to? When is it going to occur? What will be the cost? What will be the objective? And what is the expectation from the organization to the staffs who will be subjected to the training? And then it's very, very important to establish the criteria for success. How does a successful return on investment looks like? Is it an example. So end of the day, it has to, you must have a very clear KPI for the plan that you are establishing. And then during the training now, the question posed by Fortune, that is it whether it's being done in the right way, it also connected to the kind of approach that we are choosing to now implement what we have planned as with respect to training. So choosing and being clear with what sort of training approach you are going to use is very important. So it can be an e-learning, like Makisu cited. It can be one-on-one. It can be in-house. It can be at trainers location. It can be outside the country, but being able to choose a proper approach, or at some time the training partner, is critically important. And once we have the plan, then that plan has to be, and specifically the objectives and expectations, has to be very clearly communicated to, one, the trainer who is going to conduct the training. Number two, to trainees, your staffs. It has to be clear with them, like, when you come back from this training, what sort of improvement, or what am I expecting for you to to have been improved after the training, or a year after this training. Because if these expectations are not being set clear, mismatch can happen. You can send your people the training that it's going to boost the training. It's going to boost the sales. It's going to boost the communication skills, but because it's not clear with your staffs, then they might have their way of utilizing whatever that they have learned. And most importantly, during training, it has to be collaborative. Now, what normally happens with most of the institutions, most of the organizations, during the training, it's all about, I've hired Fortune to train my staff on this subject, and it's about Fortune. So it's very unfortunately that Fortune understand things from his perspective, his experience. Now the perspective or the experience that he's bringing on table sometimes might be different with specific things that you want to improve. So it has to be collaborative in a sense that if it's possible for you as an organizational representative to be there, and sometimes cement on specific items that you like to be emphasized during the training, it should be the case, but collaborative also in a sense of giving and receiving feedback as well from the training the trainer or the hired training partner. And number three is after. So it's very, very important for us to complete this cycle. That's the reason I call it a cyclic, to have an evaluation. Because before we planned and we went for the training, then after the training, we should be able to evaluate. Now, it's tricky because evaluation is not a one-time exercise. It's not about giving these people form to fill that just after they have come from the training, that what did you train on, how was it, what was your experience, and so forth. To have an effective and a meaningful training, it has to be, a timed and probably a continuous kind of a process. you'll find to most of institution organizations called Kirkpatrick 4-level training evaluation model. So in a nutshell, I'll take you through on how it looks like, the Kirkpatrick model, and perhaps it can be useful to your organization. But you also you can always explore to see what works for you. Yeah. So with Kirkpatrick model, it is in 4 levels, as the name suggests. So it starts during the training. So during the training, as an organization, you have to be keen onto the details, on from day 1 of the training, day 2, the first hour, the second hour, and this is where you can have something like an evaluation form that is to be filled on daily basis. Yeah. So this is important because it gives you a sense of understanding that, was it worth to have 5 days training? Because you can spend 5 good days, having your people outside the office, outside your production, and then come to find that it was supposed to be just a single day or 2 days. So it's also equally important that you have the evaluation right away from the training session. And then the second level is you try to assess the learning. So someone can attend, and of course we have come to that experience. I normally call it a bad experience, that someone come for the training. The office knows that he is in the training session, but in reality, he is attending his personal things, personal belongings. So it's very important also to assess or to evaluate if he did learn. So how can it be done? Sometimes you can have some sort of test before and after the training. So depending with what you want to achieve through that specific training, you can devise any sort of test to give you a feeling of where these people are in terms of the skills or knowledge that you want them to acquire, and then you come to test them after the training. And then number 3, you test or you evaluate the behavior, because you can go to the training, you can learn, yes, but if you are not applying it, that's also a break, in the for this chain to complete. So it's very important to observe, or sometimes to see the improvement in the job description, or you have the checklist and tick the things that you see that they have been improved, or a staff is working on them. Then you'll have to you get to appreciate that training was effective or otherwise. And finally, from Kirkpatrick model is measuring the results, because end of the day, businesses, institutions, organizations invest in the training because they want that training to be an input for the better, for the best bottom line of the organization. Now, the bottom line can be profit for the business entities. It can be, effectiveness in a regulation, for example, for regulatory authorities, etc., etc. So it's very important to also reflect, on the bottom line of the institution. So things like KPI. So if he's a salesperson, for example, before the training, his sales performance was at 40%, for example. After the training, he is at 60 or 70%. So that to the then like trying the defect rates, how has the errors have been reduced from the execution of the work. And then sometimes you can find reworking, so things like checking if the reworking has been reduced or minimized. I think they're equally important to be assessed. Now, at Solution Stack, as Elizabeth mentioned before, we do support, we do train, and we do feedback. So with this model, we consider it to be quite effective, because during support, we spend some reasonable time to understand what the organizational goal, what the pain point that he's trying to address through this training, and what does the competence of the personnel that is attending this training looks like. So we bothered with the client to establish the competence criteria, and then we also support clients on competence assessment and validation. That so you have a criteria for let's say you are speaking of a sales manager. So for sales manager to be competent, has to achieve 1, 2, 3 criteria. Now those are the criteria, and then you come to assess the actual the actual competence for that particular person. And that's where most likely you have to get to identify any gap if it exists. And then we develop the individual development plan that, depending with the gap that exists, then this personnel can attend this much of a training, etc. And finally, we normally review and assess. And then with training, depending with what clients want to drive, we have the in-house training, where we normally train at the client premises, and then we have tailor-made. So tailor-made it's more I mean, it's focused on the content, so we try to tailor the content and even the trainer skill set, depending with a specific challenge that the client is trying to solve, etc. But it can also be a scheduled, it can be on local setup or abroad, etc., etc. And then one of the things that we believe that adds value to clients is assessing participants. So we have internally devised assessment model that any participant will have to undergo after before the winding up the training session. And finally, we normally put together the findings, the observations from the attending participants, and then we put forward the recommendations for future improvement. So the point that I wanted to emphasize through these few slides is training, end of the day, it's an investment, and it has to contribute, to organizational bottom line. So thank you so much for listening, and looking forward to hear from you with share the experience from your side as well. Thank you so much, Elizabeth.
Thank you so very much, Peter. I have 2 points taken, which are very fair. You have taken us through the training effectiveness, and you said training effectiveness, it measures the impact of training on the trainees' knowledge, skills, performance, and company's return of investment. So that is very fair fact. And also you emphasize on evaluation, which is very also important. As you said, evaluation is not a one-time exercise. And thank you for taking us through the of which I helps to assess the spillover effect of investment that has been made to a human capital organization. As I've said before, this is a very good, insightful discussion. And at the end of the day, everybody will have a point taken home and good tools that can be applicable for your organization. So now I'd like to welcome Naomi to give us a short brief on the point taken as a panelist. And Naomi is the Managing Director of CGK Africa Connect. Welcome, Naomi.
Asante sana. Thank you so much to every speaker, Fortunatus, Comrade Makrisi, Peter, everybody. Thank you so much. It's great and amazing things we have just heard. So I wanted to wrap this up by going back to the basics and really emphasis on the training effectiveness, because if your foundation is not effective enough, the return on investment will not be seen. So I wanted to know to touch base on the fact that we're all doing the trainings and we want to train our employees because we want them to have a sense of drive that will drive them into either succeeding or what's going to that goal that we consider and call it success. So it's the drive to achieve success. So we have to go back to the basics, especially the local content of the country like Tanzania. We have three types of people, but I'll touch into two, let's say employees and bosses. How did we end up where we are? We know as a person working with young people every single day, I know most of the employees end up where they are because, first of all, they had no choice. So a job opportunity came, something came, and they ended up where they are. They had to apply. You'd see CVs being very crazy. You're applying for a graphic job, but you did bachelor's in education. You were applying for this, so we ended up where we are in that. But does that make you not legible enough for you to perform to your best? Because at the end of the day, you're a human. You have a purpose and there's a drive that you can have. So we have to go back to our employees and see, why are they here? How did they end up where they are? And then we come back to our leaders. How are they there? Are they the bosses, the ones that have gone through very good performances and then just went into that leadership ladder? Or are they really driven leaders who enhances the force of ownership into a company, even to the smallest, what we call small employees, or the employee that's in the lowest levels? How are our leaders? So the leaders are the people who are the most important, of course. So I'll be touching so much on them in 1 second, of course. So we as leaders should understand that as humans, we're creatures of affection and connection. When we're doing these trainings, we're outside of work, we're outside of our offices. Are we making that sense of oneness? Are we doing much more, a little bit more, to get to know who we are around each other, who we are with our leaders when we are doing this training? Peter has just touched a very important point. You might do a 5 days training, which was supposed to be a 1 day training. Why would you do a 5 day training that was supposed to be a 1 day training? It's simply because, again, you were following that book or you were trying to tick a box. We should never consider a training as a box ticking or a task done. As a leader, you should know it's an investment to a human potential. It's an investment to a person that once they leave where they are, they're going to, I believe Mokisi said, training never ends, never gets tired. So it's not just impacting where they are. Would they get more impact later? We've had, I think it's Geoffrey who was saying, I had the training in Nabaki. But the reason that training resonates is because of the connection, is because of the oneness and the sense of ownership that I am contributing to this company. And then I will leave you with a few points from John Maxwell, who wrote the book of the 5 levels of leadership. So the first level is the title. So why are these people following you? Is it because you have the title, they have no other option? Are you that type of a leader that I have no choice but to follow you? And then the second one is the relationship and the permission that you can give me. Am I following you because I want to be friends with my boss? Not necessarily because you're a great one, not necessarily because you're a great leader. And then we have the third one. Am I following you because of what you produce, what you do, because I see the numbers are great, I see you in the magazines are doing very much great? Is that why I'm following you? But the fourth one, which resonates with me, is called reproduction. People follow you because of what you've done to them, particularly themselves. This now comes into training. And it's crazy that this is the fourth level. You have to develop all the 3 others for you to get into the one-on-one access. And then the last level of leadership is people following you for who you are and what you present. So who you are as a leader. When it's time, I'll use Puma, but Puma is a very good success story. Puma employees would feel like they are one, no matter where they are. They're a global company, but any person would feel like I'm a part of it. We share a whole so this effectiveness has to come from a point of you are developing and you're reproducing a leader that's like you. You are reproducing somebody who will impact the way you would love to impact. So we should, again, pose the question that Fortunatus gave us. Are we training the right way, or are we ticking boxes? Are we just saying we have a budget, as everybody has said? Are we just doing this so that we have those 5 days done? But do we really come up with people who work as one more after the training? Do we have people who understand the strategy of the company inside out after the training? Do we have the people who are now driven so much and feel like it's part of their purpose to fulfill the company and the organization goal? So I aspire to be a leader who will produce, and a leader that people would follow because of what we represent and who we are and what we have created. So as leaders, this poses so much to us, but as employees, I have not touched so much about young people, and because I know they need the trainings and I know how much most of them are out there ready. So it's about the leaders again to go out there and do it effectively, train these people effectively. So guys, let us train the right way. So that's a little takeaway from me, and thank you so much.
Thank you so very much, all of you, for very well commendable discussions that we have. So, for the interest of time, I would like to only welcome a few questions, and then we can wrap up our discussion. However, this is just the beginning. It's not the end. As we say, we will have a closing remark. That won't be a closing remark. For us, it will be just a path as we go along in training the right way so that we can have competence in our organization. Welcome, everybody. Cecilia, before you raise the hand, so I thought you wanted to say something. Yes, Peter, welcome.
Thank you, Eliza. It's something that you've already posted at the chat section of this meeting, and thank you, Carlos, that you have already responded on it. But I think it's very okay to share your view, because to me, Puma, not only in Mozambique, I know even in Tanzania, they have such a commitment when it comes on people development. So my interest has always been what's the motive behind, because Puma, end of the day, it's a business entity, and for shareholders, what they would like to hear end of the day is we have made this much of a profit. So in terms of numbers, can you share something around that? And has it been able to increase Puma's number, or it's what does it mean to Puma investing to people? Thank you, Eliza.
Thank you, Peter. Carlos, on your end?
Oh, yes. Thank you, Peter, for this question. I will not share the number now, but because of maybe I did not ask the permission to share some figures from the company, but we as LND or HR we need to do to achieve the NPS, because as I said on my statement before, one of the problems that we are facing, it was a higher turnover cost. So the retention was not that clear, and we understood that maybe there is a lack of commitment. Maybe we have this issue of people. It's not about money exactly when they join the company. They want to feel at home. They want to engage. They want to produce. But the problem is that according to our history, we're not developing a lot. We're not investing on people for training and developing them. So specifically in Tanzania, you are dealing with COCOs, which we call this COCOs, which is a service station belonging to Puma and the government, that side. But in our side here, I'm talking about this side in Mozambique, we are dealing with third party, and the turnover was too high. And when it comes to that, we think like the employees are not motivated enough. What is going on? And when we did the survey, we understood that, yeah, these people, they're just working, most of them, but unfortunately, there's no opportunity for them to learn new things and also to refresh what exactly they have. So we decided to start with investing on them, and the net promoter score was stable, and also the turnover, it's also stable. So this is the numbers are not, I don't bring it here, but it's all about that, because we don't take this as a cost. We invest, as Peter said before. We just need to invest in people, and we have an expectation after investment, and that's it.
Thank you, Carlos, for your response. Do you have anyone else with input, comment, question? Well, I see we are all still digesting the discussion. So on my end, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude. As we close today's webinar, I say thank you, asante sana, speakers and panelists, audience who made this discussion insightful and impactful. So we hope the perspectives shared today have deepened our understanding of why investing in people development is a strategic necessity in the modern workplace. From real-world success story that we had from private sector coming from Puma, and experience from the government sector that coming from the Honorable Wakisu, to actionable strategies for aligning training with business goals. This session has been a rich exchange of ideas and experiences, as we've had from Fortune, and also we have had from Peter, as he shared with us the effectiveness of training. So we would also like to highlight our role as Solution Stack as a trusted training partner across sectors and institutions. Whether you're a corporate organization, a public institution, a graduate looking to enter the job market, or an individual professional seeking to upskill, Solution Stack offer expert-led training programs tailored to your needs.